My papa killed my mama because she gave birth to a girl. Rancher, please save us before we come back. The pounding on John Walker's door came with the first light, urgent and desperate, like something clawing to get in. Walker rolled from his bed, bare feet hitting cold wood, and grabbed a shotgun from beside the nightstand. 3 days of rain had turned the world to mud, and the sound echoed wet and hollow across his ranch. He pulled the door open to find a girl collapsed on his porch, maybe 15, dress torn and stained dark red. In her arms, a baby wrapped in what looked like a flour sack, both of them shaking. "Please," she gasped, looking up at him with wild eyes. "He killed her." Walker lowered the shotgun and crouched down. "Who killed who, girl?" "My papa killed my mama." The words tumbled out broken and fast. "Because she gave birth to a girl. Because I wasn't born a boy." Walker pulled them inside, shutting the door behind them. The girl stumbled to his kitchen table and sat hard, still clutching the baby. Blood smeared across the wooden surface where her hands touched. "What's your name?" Walker asked, setting the shotgun against the wall. "Mercy. Mercy Hayes. This is Hope." She looked down at the baby. "My sister." "Where's your daddy now?" "Gone to town. Drinking. Bragging." "Bragging about what?" Mercy's voice dropped to a whisper. "About cleaning house. About starting fresh." Walker moved to the stove and started coffee, keeping his hands busy while his mind raced. He'd heard the Hayes name before, whispered in the general store, spoken in the kind of hushed tones people use for bad news and worse men. "Tell me what happened," he said. 3 nights ago, Papa came home drunk. Found my birth certificate in Mama's things. Started screaming about another worthless daughter, about how he'd told her to give him sons. Mercy's voice caught. He took the shovel handle from by the door. "Where were you?" "Hiding. Always hiding when Papa gets like that. But this time was different. This time he wouldn't stop hitting her." The coffee began to bubble. Walker poured 2 cups, set one in front of Mercy. She wrapped her hands around it like it was the only warm thing left in the world. "Mama told me to run," Mercy continued. Last thing she said before she stopped talking. "So I took Hope and went to the root cellar. Been there 3 days." "How'd you know to come here?" "Mama used to talk about you. Said you were the only decent man in the county. Said if something happened, I should find John Walker's place." Walker felt something cold settle in his stomach. His late wife's photograph sat on the mantel behind Mercy, and as he watched, it tilted and fell face down with a soft thud. He'd set it straight that morning, same as every morning. "Why'd you leave the cellar now?" he asked. "Yesterday I snuck into town for food. Heard Papa at Murphy's Tavern, telling anyone who'd listen how he'd cleaned house, how he was starting fresh." Mercy's hands shook as she lifted the coffee cup. He was talking about getting rid of the evidence. "What evidence?" "Me and Hope. Said daughters are just future problems. Said he should have taken care of it years ago." The photograph fell again, this time hitting the floor with a crack. Walker stared at it, remembering his wife's voice, her laugh, the way she'd hummed while cooking. She died giving birth to their daughter, both of them lost in one terrible night. He'd often wondered if they'd been the lucky ones. "He's coming back tonight," Mercy said quietly. "How do you know?" "Because that's what Papa does. He makes sure the job's finished." She looked up at Walker. "He knows I saw what he did to Mama. He knows I can tell." Walker picked up the photograph, studied his wife's face in the cracked glass. "Tell what exactly?" "That Mama fought back this time. That she scratched his face real good. That he screamed about bloodlines and punishment and how women need to know their place." Mercy's voice grew steady, older, and that this wasn't the first time. "What do you mean?" "Found bones in the well behind our house. Old bones. Mama said Papa's first wife disappeared one winter. Said she ran off with a traveling preacher." Mercy met Walker's eyes. "Mama lied." The baby stirred in her arms, making small sounds. Walker watched Mercy adjust a flour sack blanket, her movements careful and practiced despite her young age. "There's something else," Mercy said. "Papa was asking about you in town. About whether you lived alone. About whether you had any help." Walker felt the hair on his neck rise. What kind of questions? The kind a man asks when he's planning to visit. Mercy's voice dropped lower. He said he had more cleaning to do. The photograph fell once more, and this time Walker left on the floor. Outside, the rain had stopped, but the silence felt heavier than the storm. Somewhere in the distance, a horse whinnied, then went quiet. How long before he comes? Walker asked. Mercy looked toward the window, where dawn was giving way to a gray morning. Sundown. He always comes at sundown. Walker nodded and reached for his shotgun. The day stretched ahead of them like a held breath, and somewhere out there, a man was coming to finish what he'd started. But first, Walker thought, looking at the girl and baby at his table. First, there was time to prepare. Walker cleaned his rifle at the kitchen table, while Mercy sat in the corner chair, feeding Hope with milk from a glass bottle. Neither spoke, but both listened for the sound of hoofbeats in the distance. The afternoon light grew thin through the windows. How old is she? Walker asked, nodding toward the baby. 3 months. Born in winter. Mercy adjusted the bottle. Mama said she came early because of the stress. Stress from what? Papa throwing furniture, screaming about another mouth to feed. Mercy looked up. Another girl mouth. Walker ran the cleaning rod to the rifle barrel. My wife died giving birth. I'm sorry. Baby died, too. A daughter. Walker's hand stilled on the weapon. Sometimes I wonder if they were lucky. Mercy studied his face. Lucky. To not have to live in a world like this. Hope finished the bottle, and Mercy lifted her to her shoulder, patting her back gently. Mama always said the world wasn't the problem. Men like Papa were. Walker nodded and continued cleaning. Mercy stood and walked to the kitchen window, swaying slightly to keep Hope calm. Her free hand traced along the wooden wall beside the stove. There's something loose here, she said. Old house. Everything's loose. Mercy pressed against a board, and it shifted. No, I mean really loose. She worked her fingers into the gap and pulled. The board came away, revealing a hollow space behind it. What is it? Walker asked. Mercy reached inside and pulled out a bundle of letters tied with string. These were hidden. Walker set down the rifle. Those belong to my wife. Can I read them? Go ahead. Mercy untied the string and unfolded the first letter. Dear Mama, she read aloud. I know you told me never to write about Papa, but I have to tell someone. He hurt me again last night. Said it was because I looked at him wrong. Mercy looked up. Your wife wrote this? To her mother. Keep reading. He says I belong to him until some other man claims me. Says that's how it works. Says that's how it's always worked. Mercy. Turn to another letter. I dream about running sometimes. But you always said they never stop hunting. That there's nowhere far enough. Walker stood and moved to the window. She never told me about her father. Did you ever ask? No. Figured it wasn't my business. Everything's somebody's business when it comes to women getting hurt. A knock came at the door, sharp and sudden. Walker grabbed his rifle and motioned for Mercy to step back. Who is it? Ruth Jameson. From the next farm over. Walker lowered the weapon and opened the door. An elderly woman with gray hair and sharp eyes stood on the porch, carrying a basket. Brought you some bread, Ruth said, then stopped when she saw Mercy. Lord have mercy. You're a Hayes girl. How did you know? Mercy asked. You look just like your grandmother. Same eyes, same stubborn chin. Ruth stepped inside and set the basket on the table. Your grandmother ran to my house once. You know, years ago, when your daddy was still a boy. Ran from what? Your grandfather. Mean as a rattlesnake and twice as deadly. Ruth looked at Walker. This girl in trouble? Her father killed her mother, Walker said. Ruth's face hardened. Silas. You know him? Know of him. Know his type. Ruth sat down heavily. How'd Clara die? Shovel handle, Mercy said quietly. Same way his first wife went, and his daddy's second wife. Ruth counted on her fingers. That makes 7. Walker moved closer. 7 what? 7 dead wives and daughters in that family line. going back 2 generations. Ruth looked at Mercy. Your grandmother was number 1. Tried to leave when your daddy was 5. Found her in the creek 3 days later. That's impossible, Mercy said. Is it? How many women you know just up and disappeared around here? Mercy's face went pale. Mrs. Henderson. Last spring. She was asking questions about leaving her husband. Ruth said, and Sarah Mitchell. Same story. Walker felt something cold crawl up his spine. How many men are we talking about? 3 generations of Hayes men. And they got friends. Men who think the same way. Ruth stood and moved to the window. They don't just kill their own wives. They kill any woman who tries to get away. Why hasn't anyone stopped them? Because they own half the county. Because the sheriff's afraid. Because people would rather look the other way than get involved. Mercy clutched Hope tighter. Mama said Papa had friends in town. More than friends. Partners. Ruth's voice dropped. They call it cleaning house. Like it's a public service. Walker loaded shells into his rifle. How long has this been going on? 40 years, maybe more. And nobody's done anything? What could we do? Report it to Sheriff Morrison? He's Silas's cousin. Ruth shook her head. The law don't protect women out here. Never has. Hope began to cry softly. Mercy bounced her gently, making hushing sounds. So what happens now? Now we wait, Walker said. And then we see if decent people still exist in this world. Ruth moved to the kitchen and began making coffee without being asked. I'll stay till this is finished. It's not your fight, Walker said. Every dead woman makes it my fight. Mercy walked to the window and peered out at the darkening sky. How many more are there? Women like me who need help. Too many to count, Ruth said. And how many men like you? Mercy looked at Walker. Men willing to fight? Walker chambered around. We're about to find out. In the distance, the sound of horses carried on the evening air. 3 riders, maybe 4, moving steady toward the ranch. Ruth poured coffee with shaking hands while Mercy held Hope close to her chest. That's them, Mercy whispered. Walker moved to the front window and looked out. How many? Papa never comes alone. Not for something like this. The hoofbeats grew louder, closer. Walker checked his rifle one more time and looked at the 2 women and baby depending on him. Somewhere out there in the growing dark, men were coming to finish what they'd started. But for the first time in 40 years, they wouldn't find just frightened women waiting for them. They'd find someone ready to fight back. The riders came at sunset, for men on horseback silhouetted against the orange sky. Silas Hayes rode in front, swaying in his saddle, a bottle in one hand and reins in the other. Walker stepped onto his porch and leveled his rifle. That's far enough, Walker called out. Silas pulled his horse to a stop 20 feet from the house. His face was scratched deep, 3 parallel lines from his left eye to his jaw. You got something belongs to me, Walker. Don't know what you're talking about. My daughters, my property. Silas took a long drink from a bottle. Heard they'd been hiding here like scared rabbits. Walker kept the rifle trained on Silas's chest. Ain't nobody here but me. Don't lie to me. Silas threw the bottle into the dirt where it shattered. I can smell them. Fear has a scent, you know. Inside the house, Mercy pressed her face to the window. Hope clutched tight against her chest. Ruth stood beside her, one hand on Mercy's shoulder. Daughters belong to their fathers, Silas shouted, loud enough for the whole county to hear. That's the natural order. That's how God made it. God didn't make you, Walker said. Silas laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You think you can save them? You think hiding behind your gun makes you righteous? I think killing your wife makes you damned. Clara was mine to discipline, just like those girls are mine to claim. Silas gestured to his men. We got witnesses here. Legal right to reclaim stolen property. Walker's finger found the trigger. They ain't property. Everything with a womb belongs to somebody. Father first, then husband, then son. Silas's voice turned sing-song, mocking. Clara forgot that lesson. Had to remind her with the shovel handle. How many women you killed, Silas? How many needed killing? Silas shrugged. 7, maybe 8. Lost count after my daddy's third wife. One of the other riders shifted in his saddle. Tell him about the others, Silas. Others? Women who try to leave their husbands. Women who forgot their place. Silas grinned, showing broken teeth. We provide a service. Keep the natural order. Walker felt his blood turn cold. Sheriff know about this? Sheriff's my cousin. Knows better than to interfere with family business. This ain't family business. This is murder. This is justice. Silas reached for something at his belt. Now bring me my daughters before I lose my patience. Walker saw the gun coming up and tensed to fire. Then the front door opened behind him. No, Mercy said. She stepped onto the porch, hope in her arms, moving past Walker to stand at the top of the steps. Silas's gun was already pointing at Walker, but his eyes fixed on his daughter. There's my girl, Silas said softly. Come to Daddy. I'm not your girl anymore. You'll always be my girl. Blood don't lie. Blood tells the truth. And the truth is you're a killer. Mercy took another step forward. You killed Mama. You killed your other wives. You killed women who just wanted to be free. Silas swung the gun toward her. You don't get to be free. Nobody gets to be free. I belong to myself, Mercy said simply. And so did Mama. You belong to me until I give you to another man. That's how it works. Not anymore. Silas cocked the hammer. Get in the house, girl. We're going home. There is no home. You burned it down when you killed her. I can kill you too. Right here, right now. Save myself the trouble later. Mercy looked down at Hope, then back at her father. Then do it, but you'll never stop running from what you are. What am I? A coward who kills women because he's afraid of them. Silas's face twisted with rage. His fingers started to squeeze the trigger. Walker's rifle boomed. The bullet took Silas in the chest, spinning him sideways off his horse. He hit the ground hard, the gun flying from his hand. The other riders cursed and reached for their weapons, but Ruth appeared in the doorway with Walker's shotgun. Anyone else want to discuss property rights? She asked. The 3 men looked at each other, then at Silas bleeding in the dirt, then at the shotgun pointed at their faces. Without a word, they turned their horses and rode away into the gathering darkness. Mercy walked down the steps and knelt beside her father. Blood frothed at the corners of his mouth as he tried to speak. No more daughters going to run from you, she whispered. No more wives going to die for being women. It's over. Silas's eyes went empty. His breath stopped. 3 months later, Mercy stood in Walker's kitchen, Hope on her hip, watching Ruth read from one of the old letters. The photograph of Walker's wife sat steady on the mantel, no longer falling. Your turn, Ruth said, handing Mercy a pen and paper. Mercy set Hope in her chair and began to write. Dear daughters who come after me, she started. We stayed. We fought. The running stops here. Outside, Walker repaired the fence that would keep their cattle safe. Inside, 2 women and a baby girl made a home where fear could no longer live. The cycle was broken. The ghost could rest.